I've had several people ask when they saw a picture of how I did this basing is, how did I do it? So in this video I decided I would take you step by step of how I got the effect I did on this base. So let's go take a look at how I did it. Alright, so this is the base I'm going to start with. It's just the MDF one I purchased online because I needed a whole bunch of them, so this is a much cheaper route to go. Now, the edges, you could do whatever color you want on the edges. It's the top that you need to worry about, and you don't want a light color on top. You want a dark color. And what I'm going to actually do is just color the sides the same color as the top. And what I'm going to use is this model color black gray. So it's not totally black. It's kind of a lighter, a darker gray or lighter black, however you want to say it. So just you want a dark color, because if you don't, the flock you're going to put on there, that light color is just going to shine right through it, and it doesn't look as good. So pretty much simple, just brush it on. Trying to get a good coat here along the top and along the sides. And again, you can color the sides whatever you want. It's the top you need to have that dark color. And it looks like that may be it, along with my fingers. So that's pretty much it. I'll see if there's any touch-ups I have to do. And so now I am just going to let that dry. So that's the first step, is get that top to be a dark color. You could do black if you want. Okay, the base is painted. And the next step is we're going to just take some Elmer's glue, just normal glue. I'm not going to like pour it on. What I'm going to do is I normally put it in some type of container so I can just brush it on, because it can get globby and lumpy and everything, and then you got too much. So this way you have a little bit more control. And then, because I don't want to dry quicker than, because if you let it set for just a few seconds, the top starts drying and it doesn't stick as well to this. I just put it in a little container here. This is like Woodland Scenics, like Railroad. If you go to like the Railroad place and get Woodland Scenics, this is dirt. There's some extra stuff in there like that one. But it's called dirt, and it's a good base color. And like I said, if you did this light color, this doesn't do a really thick coat because you don't put a ton of glue down on the base. And that light color is just going to pop through. So this kind of camouflages the base against the dirt. So what I do is I just take some on the, I just dip it in, take some on the brush. I don't want to go crazy with it. Just kind of like this. I try not to get on the side of the base, but there is a way you can solve that problem. And as you see, I'm not putting a real thick, well, that kind of got thick there. So I'm going to try to thin it out. Maybe if I got too much, I'll take some of this excess off. And I'm just trying to get a thin coat on here because it doesn't need to be thick for this to work. And I'm just going to try to coat the whole top. And again, if you get it on the side, it's no big deal, because there's an easy solution. So now that's done. Quickly, as it starts drying, just put it in there and I kind of push it down into it like that. Now the next thing is you have this big glob of it. That's, ooh, that's a little thick. So I'm trying to get in the camera here. So what I do is I hold onto it tight, and then it's kind of an awkward angle to try this at. I'm going to try this way. So, and then I take like something heavy, and I normally take like my needle nose pliers because it's able to get between my fingers easy. And I just tap it real hard. And that's going to pull that excess off of there. And then you can see like that. And you can see how if you had that light color on it, it's just going to show through. And I got that on there. This stuff is easy to cover up what I've got here. And if you're like, ooh, I'm not happy with that, be careful if you put more glue on it, because it's just going to pull that and stick to the brush. So I might do a little bit more like that. If I want to, it's not required, but I'm going to show you kind of how to repair it. And just dab it on. Don't brush it, because all this stuff will just stick to your brush. Okay, so I'm going to try to see. You can see how it's picking it up. So I'm going to try that, and let's see. And actually, if I want to try to cover that white part up there. I might just do like that. It might not. There's an easy solution for that. You don't have to go picking it off. Do that. Let me get my needle nose. Tap the excess off. And voila. So what you need to do now, well, hold on just for a second. I forgot to tell you. Just take off the side. Just brush your fingers along it. And it's going to take the excess off the side. So that's an easy, I mean, if you get on the side, as long as you don't glob it up. There you go. And just kind of do like that, and that'll take care of the side. And this way, the sides are fine. It's not focusing. I'm like really zoomed in here. Here we go. So you can see how the sides are clear now. There's this, but that's just going to come right off, so that's no big deal. And there we go. Now, important here is you need to let this really dry, because if you try the next step without it drying, it's just going to be solid of the next color. So I'm going to let this just dry. I don't care about this part here because I can fix that with the next layer. And this part right there with that white, I can fix that with the next layer. So we'll see what the next layer is after this dries. Okay, the glue is dried. So now we're ready for the next step. The way to think of this is like how Bob Ross or other painters think when they're doing landscapes, is they work from what's in the back and work towards the top. So we've got our background of the dark base, and now we layered it with this dirt. Now we're ready to put the next layer on. So that's kind of the way to think about it. For this one, you're going to need some more glue, but there's going to be a difference in this case. And so I'm going to put some down in the corner here. Doesn't take very much of this. If you just take this glue and start going like this with it, it's just going to pull that flock right off. So what you got to do is, I want this to go on a little easier, so I'm going to add some water. So I do about 50-50. Kind of like that. Mix it up so the glue is more runny. I may have to add a bit more glue. Let me get a little more glue. That's a little too runny. I want some glue getting down there. And this will keep, for the most part, keep the flock from being pulled up. There we go. Kind of mixing that up really good. There we go. So now it's got this runny glue. It'll still stick, but it's not going to pull this up like if we did just the solid glue. So when you do this next part, and then after we put that on there, we're going to use this, which is, I'm using this Woodland Scenics Blended Turf, and it's got some nice kind of yellows, greens, dark greens, so it's kind of got a good mix of colors in it. I really do like this one. So I'm going to take the lid off of this. Set it over here. All right. Now, when you do this, you just don't go, I'm more dab. And also, you don't want to cover all the dirt. Do patches of grass in there. Leave some dirt showing, because otherwise, why did you put the dirt on there? And I might like put more where this is at to cover up those two spots. Maybe there's some, see how it's not so thick there, maybe there. So I'll look at where do I really want to touch up, and then go from there. So I'm gonna do a little bit here, just kind of dabbing it on. I'm not streaking across, because it's just going to pull, that Elmer's glue will get re-wet. And make sure I get on top of that stuff. See, you can, like Bob Ross says, you make a mistake, you can just cover it up. And that's kind of the same way when, I feel like I should say happy little trees here. So you can see I'm leaving a lot of dirt still there. So that's it. So kind of some wet glue. I'm going to see if I can somehow, there we go. Maybe it'll be, yeah, it's, it is going to focus. I'm saying this is really focused in to get this base where you can see it. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm just going to press it into it. I really do need to get another container for this to be able to do this easier. And it's going to be the same thing I did before. Take my needle nose pliers so they fit between my fingers easier. trying to get the excess off so I can kind of see what is this going to look like, because I can still do my repair job. So there you go. Oh, I do like that. I'm leaving plenty of dirt showing because you're still going to layer stuff on top, so you don't want to cover all your dirt, but I really do like that. And if you think about your vehicle, it's going to be in the middle here. Now, I do have some on the edges, so again, it just comes right off. I just use my thumb and do like that. And there we go. Now, I do have some here, but when you're playing a game, this is so zoomed in. Actually, when you're playing a game, that's going to be a little hard to see, but you know what? I can cover it up with some of my other layers. So I'm not so worried about being completely to the edge. I mean, it's nobody's really going to notice that unless you're maybe tournament level or something like that. But for me, this works. And what you need to do now is you need to let this completely dry. And then we'll go to our next step. All right, the glue is dried. Now ready for the next step. And the next step is I put some rocks on here. And basically, if you go to like a railroad hobby store or something like that, you're going to get some like ballast, I think is what they call it. It's just little rocks. And this one's kind of it may not show up very well. Now maybe if I open it. Oh, there you go. You kind of can see the color there. It's kind of whitish tan color. And then I was like, oh, I just don't want one color on this. So what I did was I took some out, put them in a container, did a light coating of earth shade, and I took another container, put a little bit in there, and did some of the black, and then mixed it up, and I got this multicolored rock in there. So some kind of darker, some lighter, some brownish. So it kind of puts a little bit more than just that one color of rock. Now this one you are not going to use the Elmer's glue. For me, the rocks, I don't know if they're going to stick well enough with just the Elmer's glue. So this time I'm going with the super glue. And this one's can be a little bit messy. I don't know if I found a perfect way to do this. What I do is I just put, and again, you kind of like, where do you want it? Now the thing is, I wouldn't put it somewhere in the middle, because if you put your vehicle down, the rock's going to tilt your vehicle up. Let's see if I get one. I should have got, oh, I don't have one over here. If you put a vehicle down, if there's rock there, it's going to tilt that vehicle up, and you're going to, so you can also take that off. But I would think, be careful about putting it somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to take this glue. Make sure it's working first. There we go. Now it's coming out, and I'm just going to dab some glue on there, like there, maybe here, here. So I'm kind of being careful about putting it in the middle. Now this one you don't have to be as quick as I was with the Elmer's glue, because it's going to take a little bit of time. And then I'm going to take the rocks over here. And I used to kind of dip it in, but I think I'm just going to sprinkle it on. Just to kind of go like that. I might push some down. This is probably going to get some of the super glue on your fingers. It always has on me, but there we go. I'm going to knock some off again. And now you got this clumping action, which is not, it's not that fantastic. So what I want to do is, I'm just going to take this and spread these out. Now this is going to stick to your fingers. That's no big deal. Take this, spread these out. So they got some of the rocks have the super glue on them. So they are generally going to stay where you put them. And you see that coming up? No big deal. We'll cover that up. So don't worry about losing some of your other layers. So there we go. So now the rocks are more spread out instead of just clumping in one area. And I might just tap this again, kind of see. And again, if I want to, I can, I kind of want a little bit of rock over here maybe. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue. And it's one of those, when you do it, look at it, then, oh, come on out, there you go. And then, is it how you want? Modify it. All right, there we go. So now it's looking like this. I'm going to spread this out. I don't think you really want to overdo this because then another layer coming up. All right, let me see. It's just to add some more color, a little bit of depth, because these rocks are going to be a little bit raised up. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Nature is not a lot of times balanced. There's more rocks over here than here, but a lot of times nature is asymmetrical. So now, oops, I got some on the side. Again, if it happens to get on the side, just wipe it off. There we go. Now I'm just going to let that super glue dry. Don't worry about little spots like you can see where the flocks come up. We're going to fix that. So there we go. So I'm going to let the super glue dry and then we'll move to the next layer. Okay, we're ready for our next level of layering, and that's going to be the leaves and sticks and all that. You're going to want to water down your glue again. And I got a pretty good consistency there. And what I did was I went outdoors and found some dried up leaves and some very, very, very thin twigs and put them into, I think this is like a shake, kind of homemade, a home kind of shake blender thing that you attach that to this and of course you want the lid on it. So, and it chops it up, and when you're done, you'll come out with this. And this is what I'm going to glue to this to add a little more color and stuff like that. Now, when you do it, I definitely want to cover up that spot. Definitely that spot. You don't want to cover up all your dirt. And I'm going to go across here. You can cover up some of the rock because these would go over the rocks. And maybe there. I might actually put, now this won't hold up the tank, so I might actually put something like this showing it going under the vehicle. And then when I got that, I'm just going to stick it in here upside down and just press it to try to get it to stick to that glue. And then when I'm done, of course I'm going to get my needle nose to get the excess to fall off. There we go. Now, this is a big clumping mess here, but that's no big deal because I want to take a lot of this off, and so you can just kind of go, let's take some of this off, some of this. So it just, there we go. I still want to push that over onto that. So I can see I still got that area there, so I can move these around like there. I may not want all those. You can use also a little brush to try to brush some of these off. I'd rather just kind of more scattered. Now we're getting to more what I want. I want it more scattered than clumping. So now, as you can see, with it more scattered, I'll just push that down. Now I'm beginning to like that a lot better than just clumping it. There we go. I actually do kind of like that one back there, but I don't think they're, you know what, they're not glued down, they're going to be. So I'll just, hopefully, no, stay on there. There we go. Now it should stay. So there we go. And I still got some areas like this, but the next layer is going to take care of that. So again, let this completely dry. I'm going to still play around with this and get that out of there. I don't like all of that being clumping right there, so I might just take some of that off if I can get it. There we go. Not worried about showing that because the next layer will definitely take care of that space right there. And I can see this one over here. And also, really, from where I'm at, we're so magnified in here, it's really easy to see, but when you're just looking at it, it's a lot harder to see. So I like it better having them kind of scattered around in just big clumps areas. So that's our next layer. We're going to let this dry, and then we're going to our final layer. All right, we're ready to put the last layer on. And for this one, you're going to want some Elmer's glue again. And again, it watered down. Because again, we don't want to pull any of this stuff up. And we don't want a big glob of glue sitting there. So we have the watered down glue. This time what we're going to put in is, I use this coarse turf, light green. It's going to be here. It's kind of clumpy. So I've got it here in this container. It's kind of clumpy. And so it's going to add a little depth to this. It's going to lift up this just a little bit more to get a more three-dimensional look. Plus it's a different color than what's showing on here. Now I definitely want to cover up these spots, and this is where I do have to cover up again. Since this is the last one, I have to cover these spots up. So we'll put right there some, and we'll put some here. And again, I just want to dot some around. Don't want to overdo it. I'm kind of like, oh, I don't like that I put that right on that dirt. I'm kind of not upset, but I'm like, I really wish I wouldn't have done that. I don't know, that might be enough just to do that. Actually, I see a little spot here I might want to get picked up there. And again, I'm just going to dip it into this, like I've been doing the rest. Kind of get it in there like that, and then I will use the needle nose. Get those off. And it's going to look something like that, and then I might just pat that down a little bit, see how that's looking. So let's take a look here. Yeah, I think I can live with that. That's sticking up there. If you want to keep that, I'm just going to, hopefully I can get that to stick. Like, there we go. Now it's going to stick. So that's going to stick there. I'll try to get it back up there. Oh, but that is sticking to me. Take that off. I see this here. I may want to stick that back on. There we go. So I think I can live with this. I don't like that sticking out there. I'll let this dry, and then that should be it, and then it'll be time to put the vehicle on it. So I'm going to let this dry. All right, we're ready for the last part, and this is basically, we're just going to attach a model. So I've got my Abrams tank here that I'm going to attach, and what you want to do first before you put it, glue it all down and everything, is make sure it's going to sit pretty good where it's at. So I can kind of push down, and yep, it's flat. It's not going to go anywhere. So that's going to sit in there nicely. And then it's pretty simple. I just got some of this. There it is. Gorilla Glue, and it comes with a brush. So it comes with a brush, or you could take the other cap off and squirt it like you would normally do with super glue. But I like to brush it, because you could just do like, I want to do that, I want to do that. So I'm just doing the bottom tracks. And actually, I should take the turret off. I got it where I use like an earthquake wax. So I can put you kind of see it there. Kind of makes it a little sticky for the turret to stay. And then I'm just going to push it down. Actually, before I do that, make sure I've got it pretty centered. Push it down so that the tracks get pushed way, way down in there. So we're just not on the top layer of flock with the super glue. And then that is it. Put the top back on. Somehow, there we go. Yep. And see with that wax, you can still turn the turret and it stays on there. And you can see I can turn it upside down, it won't come off. So there we go. And that is that Abrams on the base. It's still a little wet, so I can go, you know what, I'm going to turn that a little bit more like that. There we go. Now it's a little more centered. There we go. And that's all you have to do. You could think about other things to put on here if you want to, but it's all to do with layering. And so that's how I've been layering these bases.